far?
You know, I think, so what we didn't play, Chris, was before that, the question of the KKK came up because Senator Harris was referring to comments that the president's nominee had made calling the Democratic Party neo-Klanist, which I'm not really sure what that is. And so without context, yes, I think folks would argue that equating the KKK to ICE is reckless and irresponsible. But frankly, that's not what Senator Harris did.
Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between sworn
I'm talking about perception.
officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no
Are you aware that there's a perception?
That puts ICE in the same category as the KKK. Is that what you're asking me?
No, I'm very specific about what I'm asking you. Are you aware of a perception that the way that the discretion
I see no parallel.
I'm not finished.
I see none.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Are you aware that there's a perception that ICE is administering its power in a way that is causing fear and intimidation, particularly among immigrants and specifically among immigrants coming from Mexico and Central America? Are you aware of that perception?
I do not see a parallel between the power and the authority that ICE has to do its job and the agents and officers who do it professionally and excellently with lots of compassion.
Let's get to you on this, Niger. Is this just a question of context?
Absolutely not. What it is a perversion of history. It is Senator Kamala Harris spitting on the graves of thousands of African Americans that were terrorized by the most powerful political domestic terrorist organization in the history of our country.
How so?
It is her showing, how so?
Yeah.
Is she spitting on those graves?
Yes.
By comparing what ICE is doing in upholding the Constitution of the United States and the laws of our land and trying to pursue those who are breaking those laws versus the Klan that was actually trying to burn the Constitution, erode the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment of the Constitution, written for Black Americans so that they can be considered full citizens. The Klan, as an organized arm of the Democratic Party, went to reverse that.
All right, now we've gone, now this is a bridge too far. Let's just be
Why
really
is
clear.
it a bridge too far?
Senator Harris is
what did
on
I say that's
record
untrue,
saying,
Symone?
Senator Harris.
Do you believe that whether or not ICE should be abolished, is that a legit question for Democrats to be asking, in your opinion, Symone? Is that really something that you guys should be considering?
You know, I think for Democrats that have come out on record that said they want ICE to be abolished, people should be asking those folks about abolishing ICE. But I think an overwhelming number of Democrats have come out and said we need to fix our broken immigration system, which needs to be a bipartisan effort. And when it comes to ICE, perhaps we need to revisit it. And currently, there are many Democrats, myself included, that believe ICE is not currently operating inside its mission. It is not fully funded. It does not have the resources and the real directives and the oversight that it needs to carry out its job properly. Let's be clear. ICE's job is not to enforce the border. That is, there's a separate entity for that.
Are you open to that suggestion, Niger? That it's not about abolishing. The last thing we need is less people keeping the border safe. But in terms of how they do their job, what their mandate is, and how it's executed, is that something you'd be open to reviewing?
I have strong libertarian instincts, and any government entity needs proper oversight, supervision, and direction. But that's not what some of the extremists in the progressive movement are doing. They are demonizing the thousands of decent ICE officers that are trying to enforce our laws, including Senator Harris with her perception comparison of the Klan to ICE. Don't run away from it, Symone. It was disgusting what she did.
I'm not running. It's on the record.
And she is spitting. I will say it again. Spitting on the memories of those who fought in the Civil War and the Civil Rights Revolution against the Klan that had terrorized Black folk for over 100 years. It's disgusting.
So just so we don't
and
conflate
Kamala
history, to be
Harris
clear,
needs to apologize.